You ever watch a film and feel like it's not really entertainment, it's more of a revelation? For me, that's Sinners. It's not about vampires per se, it's about what happens when a soul refuses to sell its light, its gifts, its talents to survive the dark. Now, Ryan Coogler didn't just make a movie, he made a parable, a sermon disguised as Southern Gothic horror. Now, it's set in 1932 Mississippi. Sinners drip with sweat, sound, and spirit. It moves like a blues song that's been crying for generations. And beneath the music, beneath the blood and the gold tinted light, lies a question. How far will you go to stay human when this world rewards those who feed on others? Now, the vampires are represented or presented as energetic predators. Vampires and sinners aren't your typical monsters, they're a reflection. They represent every system, every spirit, every person that feeds off your energy, your talent, your rhythm, your essence, but never acknowledges your humanity. Their exploitation wearing refinement. They show up smiling with unity on their lips, but hunger in their eyes. They want access, not alliance, access. And that's the first spiritual truth this film exposes. Not everyone who claps for your gift loves your soul. The juke joint, that small sacred space where the music breathes, becomes a temple. It's church without religion. And that's where the film flips the vampire myth. The light isn't in the sunlight, it's in the sound. Music is salvation. Every note becomes a weapon against the forces that feast in the dark. What about the twins, Smoke and Stack? They are dual energies of the soul. Michael B. Jordan plays both brothers, one that stays grounded in the dirt of the Delta, the other who wants to escape it. Spiritually, they're not two men, they're one soul split in conflict. The smoke within us wants to rise, the stack within us wants to remain. And that's the internal war we all fight, the struggle between legacy and liberation. One brother wants peace through power, the other seeks peace through purpose. But both are hunted by the same darkness, the lure of assimilation, the illusion that you can dine with demons and not absorb their appetite. That's what makes the film prophetic. It's not about vampires biting necks, it's about the slow bite of compromise, the bite that says, take the deal, the bite that says, tone down your truth so they'll like you, the bite that says, sell your soul in small payments, one silence at a time. Now, the juke joint is has sound as sanctuary, music as medicine. When Sammy strums the guitar, the whole world bends. Time folds, spirits rise, the ancestors step forward. It's one of the most spiritually charged scenes in the film because it reveals this: sound is memory and frequency is lineage. Now, the blues wasn't born out of entertainment. It was born out of pain transformed into power. It's what happens when enslaved spirits learn to sing through sorrow until the sorrow becomes song. That's the algorithm of spirit. When energy is converted through expression, darkness loses its grip. So when Coogler turns the juke joint into a battleground of sound, he's not staging a concert, he's staging deliverance. The moment the music starts, you can feel the room shift from human to holy because sound is what connects the living to the unseen. What about the invitation scene? The seduction of acceptance. Remember when the vampires asked to join the party? They talk about equality, about unity, but the spiritual ones among you felt it. That scene didn't feel like inclusion, it felt like infiltration. That's what seduction looks like when it's dressed as progress. It asks for access to your sacred space under the disguise of love. It sounds like, let's collaborate, but really means, let me colonize what you've built. And spiritually, this is one of the film's deepest revelations. If you open the door to what does not honor your frequency, your light becomes their food. That's why the ancestors whisper, guard your gates. The same way that juke joint stood as sacred territory, your spirit is sacred ground. Not everyone deserves entry, no matter how kind they appear in the dark. What about the sunrise, the deliverance through exposure? By the time the finale comes, light becomes weapon. Sunlight burns the parasites, and the dawn exposes what the night tried to hide. It's a reminder that some battles can't be won in secrecy. Some victories only happen in exposure. Spiritually, the sunrise represents clarity, the moment truth becomes unbearable for deception. That's why darkness always hates dawn, because once truth breaks through, feeding stops. And here's where sinners hits home. Deliverance didn't come through vengeance. It came through illumination, through the power of what's revealed when the light finally rises over what was hidden in plain sight. And there's a deeper message where freedom is an energy, freedom is a vibration, freedom is a frequency. At its heart, Sinners is a story about energetic freedom. Freedom from systems that feed on creativity, freedom from shame that hides behind respectability, freedom from the temptation to dim your light so others feel comfortable in their darkness. Ryan Coogler used horror to preach a spiritual truth. There are still vampires in this world, but they don't always drink blood. Some drink your peace, your time, and your voice. And the only way to stop them is to remember your light. The film ends where it began, with the sky opened, unfiltered, because freedom isn't a location. It's a frequency your soul learns to maintain even when surrounded by darkness. So if you ever felt drained, unseen, or spiritually manipulated, Sinners isn't fiction. It's a warning, it's a reflection, it's a mirror, it's a message from the ancestors saying, keep your rhythm sacred, guard your sound, and protect your frequency. Because in a world full of takers, being fully alive is rebellion. And in that rebellion lies redemption. See, there are movies you watch, and then there are the messages that watch you back. And Sinners isn't just a film, it's a vibration, it's an energy. Every frame feels like it's asking your soul, how much of your light have you given away just to survive in someone else's darkness? This story isn't about just the vampires, as I said. It's about the energy takers of life, those that feed on spirit, those who call it love while draining your life. Ryan Coogler created a visual sermon, a lesson about hunger, power, and the cost of staying pure in a world that rewards corruption. Michael B. Jordan plays both brothers, but spiritually he's playing the same man split in two, because Smoke wants to rise and Stack wants to remain. One believes freedom is out there, the other believes freedom must be built here. And isn't that the battle inside all of us? The higher selves hold your integrity. The wounded self whispers, survive at any cost. That's the real possession. The quiet temptation to abandon yourself in the name of success. In Sinners, one brother burns slow, the other burns bright. Both are light trying to live in a land that worships shadows. The truth, when the world cannot kill your body, it will come for your belief in yourself. The juke joint is the heart of the film. It's more than music. Every note in that space is a prayer. Every dance step is a release of what life refused to fix. That scene when Sammy plays, it's a portal. It's not just a performance, right? Because when oppressed people create, they don't entertain, they transcend. Music becomes medicine, rhythm becomes resistance. That's why darkness fears sound, because light travels in frequency and truth always has a beat. In that juke joint, you see the real miracle. A people that the world tried to silence still singing. That's resurrection right there. Not the kind in churches, but the kind that happens in your chest when pain finally becomes art. Then come the outsiders, elegant and smiling. But discernment knows the difference between love and leeching. That scene when the vampires ask to join is the perfect allegory for the world's false invitations. They don't ask to share, they ask to siphon. They don't want communion, they want consumption. That's what the film whispers. Guard your sacred spaces. Because every time you open your spirit to those who don't respect it, your light becomes their meal. It's not prejudice, it's protection. Not everyone who calls you brother comes in peace. Some just want to feed in peace. Every vampire story is a story about exchange. In Sinners, blood is just a metaphor for energy. Every bite asks the same question: how much of your life are you willing to give to feel accepted? That's the same question the world asks dreamers, truth tellers, artists, prophets. Give us your art, but not your conviction. Give us your story, but not your standards. And here's the revelation: every time you compromise your essence to be understood, you've entered a blood contract, an energetic one. That's the true horror. You're not dead, just dimmed. When the sun rises in that final act, it's not just daylight, it's also divine justice. The same light they tried to suppress becomes the weapon that sets everything right. Because you can't outlive the truth. You can only hide from it until dawn. The sunrise in Sinners isn't cinematic, it's spiritual. It's God saying, I let the night run its course so the light would mean more. Deliverance doesn't always come through escape. Sometimes it comes through exposure. When the truth hits, the fangs fall off. When illumination breaks, deception burns. Freedom isn't a location, it's not north or fame or money. Freedom, again, is an energy. It's the sound your soul makes when it refuses to bow. That's why the film keeps returning to the sky. It's wide, it's unowned, and it's infinite. Because no system, no contract, no empire can own what was born of air and rhythm. Your ancestors knew this. That's why they sang while they suffered. They were tuning themselves to a higher key, one the oppressor couldn't hear. And that's what Coogler captured: the sound of spiritual survival, the music of people who refuse to die quietly. See, the film may be set in 1932, but the message belongs to now. The vampires just wear suits now. They sign contracts instead of showing fangs. They feed on your creativity, your peace, and your authenticity. That's why discernment matters more than ever. Not everyone who offers opportunity means you well. Some just want to package your pain and sell it. And spiritually, this is why your boundaries are sacred. Not to shut people out, but to keep your essence intact. You're not hard to love. You're just too holy to be handled carelessly. Listen, in that musical sequence, when the air starts to shimmer and the time folds in on itself, that's the ancestors, the unseen choir that guards every chosen one who almost gave up. The same ones that whisper, keep your rhythm sacred. That's what Sinners reminds us. You're never alone in your fight for light. Every note you play, every truth you speak, every boundary you draw echoes through your bloodline. And your courage today becomes protection for those who come after you. One of the hardest truths in Sinners is this: you can't rescue the ones who enjoy your pain. Some people are spiritually allergic to your healing. They thrive on your wounds because it validates their weakness. The film shows us that compassion without discernment becomes captivity. It's okay to walk away from the ones who only love you as long as you're bleeding, because some forms of love are really hunger in disguise. When the music rises again after the storm, it's not about celebration, it's about resurrection. The sound doesn't erase what happened, it transforms it. Pains become melody and loss becomes that legacy. That's the real redemption Sinners delivers. Not revenge, not escape, but transformation. So if you watch Sinners and only see a horror, you miss the prophecy. This is a story about energetic survival, about keeping your sound sacred in a world that monetizes pain. The moral, be careful what you let feed on you. Because when your light is pure, darkness will always send admirers. And in the end, remember, freedom isn't just the absence of chains, it's the presence of sound. It's the sound that refuses to bow, even when the night calls your name. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.